The amount of student debt Americans have amassed is truly mind-boggling. Millennials are in a real terrible situation, with nearly 1 in 2 of them facing a heavy debt load. This actually extends to even those who should be worried about retirement but instead need to pay back excessive levels of debt. This is the intentional design. Keep the people enslaved in the rat race and you will dominate them and ensure they remain obedient. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to talk about student debt. I want to talk about millennials. I want to talk about debt in general. And this is a very important topic for many people because they find themselves in this issue or they know people in this same situation. And of course, you know the burden that it causes. So let's begin by taking a look at this article out of the New York Post. Nearly 1 in every 2 millennials in New York State owes student loan debt. And we're not talking about $1,000, $2,000. Many of these people owe tens of thousands of dollars. Thousands of these borrowers are working as bartenders or waitstaff while paying off their loans and seeking more gainful employment in their chosen fields. So they want to be working somewhere else, but they have to take what job they can get. As they struggle to stay current with their repayments, many fear a reduction in their incomes if the state's present, quote, tip credit, which permits bars, restaurants, and other establishments to pay staff less than the minimum wage because of gratuities, is eliminated, as state legislators are considering. We'll see what happens in that regard, but the principle remains here is that individuals are too heavily in debt and they can't get the jobs that they want when they come out of school. The whole school system is broken right now. That's a topic for a different video. Student debt is at a record high statewide. According to the figures, we're seeing New York State outstanding debt now totals $90 billion. All right, $90 billion for one state. 45% of adults 18 to 35 owe student loan debt. You have to understand, half of the people owe debt on the student loans. That's in addition to their credit cards, their mortgages, any other type of personal loan they have, all their expenses that they incur, their rents, their mortgages, and so on. 20% of New York State consumers have outstanding student debt. So it goes beyond that. In fact, you could see in this article here, over 60 and crushed by student loan debt. One generation of Americans owed $86 billion in student loan debt at last count. Its members are all 60 years old or more. Can you believe this? Many of these seniors took out loans to help pay for their children's college tuition and are still paying them off. Others took out student loans for themselves in the wake of the last recession as they went back to school to boost their own employment prospects, and this destroyed people. You could see that, unfortunately. On average, student loan borrowers in their 60s owed $33,000. How in the world are they ever going to pay that back if they're waiting tables and things like this to try and pay it off? If they're not able to get the jobs that they want, tens of thousands of dollars, it adds up. You're compounding. Then you have all your other debt, of course, on top of all of that. Now, I have a few charts to show you. I'm just going to touch on a couple of points and just move on. Total student debt owed, 60 years old and older. In 2010, it goes from $33 billion. 2017 is at $86 billion. You could see how far it has come, basically tripling since the financial crisis. Nobody wants to admit that because they say, hey, don't worry, the Fed is going to fix it all, but it's not going to happen. Average amounts owed by people who have student loans. There is this misconception about debt is that you can put it off forever, but you have tens of thousands of dollars that you owe. It starts compounding. It's going to crush you. It is absolutely going to crush you. Student debt later in life. Older adults are increasingly carrying more student loan debt and incurring serious setbacks when they're unable to pay. You could see that on the charts here. Look at this. People whose Social Security benefits or other federal payments were garnished by U.S. government after defaulting on federal student or parent loans. You just have to see what you're potentially facing as a result of attempting to default on that debt, and unfortunately, it's not good for many, many people. There are all of these new corporations that are coming up and helping you with your mortgage by buying the house off of you, then you rent it from them for a period of time. There's all these different schemes available. Take a look at this one here. At this company, you can trade a vacation for student loan relief. On average, American workers use about half of their eligible vacation time. Starting next year, employees at Unum can trade up to 5 days or 40 hours of that unused paid time off for a payment against their student loan tab. There's all kinds of things that are happening today, and it wouldn't exist if we didn't have a very serious problem, right? That's the way it works. So much debt. You have these student loans that are out there. They are becoming magnified since the financial crisis, even though apparently everything is great now. You have an issue here, and a business pops up out of nowhere and really fulfills the needs of people. This is obviously a different situation, but I'm just trying to highlight the fact that you have these opportunities that occur when there's an issue, not just with 1 or 2 or 10 or 100 people, but when it becomes a widespread issue. What employees with student debt would want if their boss offered to put $200 a month towards benefits? Help me pay off my student debt. That's 45% of individuals. 29% save for retirement. You know, you've got an issue when half of the people are going this way. Student debt is a problem, and it's getting worse. We have to understand it's not that people are in debt. That's the mistake that everybody's making. Okay, you have an individual, that individual is in debt. They don't understand how the financial system works. They're completely and entirely misguided, or they have their head in the sand. Either way, they don't understand it. Let me say it very quickly. All of that debt, whether we're looking at student, whether we're looking at credit card, whether we're looking at mortgages, anything, it's all taken. They put it up into these little packages, they securitize it, and they create a method to profit from it as an instrument of debt. If you can believe that or not, that's the way it works. They take your credit card, they take someone in Alabama's debt on their mortgage, they take another individual in Florida's credit card debt, and they take somebody in California's mortgage on that one, maybe it's a subprime, and they put it all into a package and they sell it off to a company, and they manage to make a lot of money off of it. But you're paying the mortgage off to your bank, let's say. Why in the world is it then being traded off? It's a secondary thing. It's a derivative, right? That's the way it works. And this has created a financial nightmare that will present itself once again. We saw just the tip of the iceberg in 2008. Nothing really happened. You must understand this. In 2008, nothing really did happen. They were papering over the issue, and of course, it will be highlighted in the next crisis. There's no doubt about that. You can see the student and car loans that have just been catapulted since the financial crisis. You can see obviously right here on this chart, it goes back from 2006 up until present. It's not looking good because month after month after month, it expands. It's getting worse and worse. We are right now for student loans approaching $1.6 trillion in the United States. It is insanity to see how far people are willing to take it. And what are they going to do? Well, they think, well, I have to go to university, have to go to college to be able to get the job that I desire. They take on the debt, and they realize, many of them, unfortunately, they didn't get the job that they wanted. I found a lot of people talking personally with them. They went to university, then they got a job after, and maybe it was just an okay job, not necessarily a bad job, but they were there thinking, well, I'm just here temporarily, I'll pay off my debt, and when that's over with, I'm going to move to where I want to be. However, they're there for 5 years, maybe their student loans are paid off, maybe they're reduced regardless, and then they think, well, I got 5 years seniority here, you know, maybe I got a promotion one time, or I'm due for a promotion soon, I'll just stick around for another year, then it becomes 3, then it becomes 8, and then suddenly they don't want to leave anymore because they have so much seniority, and they're thinking, well, I'll just hang on, well, the economy is not so good right now, don't want to leave, okay, well, this issue, that issue, suddenly they're there for life. They never really even used their education to get themselves a job. So it really just begs the question, what is the purpose of this? But again, I'm trying not to segue into that. Let's cover something else. Share of renters by income in the top 10 cities. If you see the red areas, that's over $150,000. Imagine this. You have a large percentage of people, as far as I'm concerned, that make over $100,000 a year and they're renting. And it's a significant percentage. You have to figure there's something wrong. You have individuals that are so heavily in debt that they can't afford a home. I'm not saying that renting is bad or renting is less preferable, but I know that many people do want to be able to buy their home, and they'll do so, pay it off over 30 years, what have you. But a lot of people are just saying, I have this student loan debt, I want to pay that off first. I have this credit card debt, I want to pay that off first. Many people don't really know what they are in for, and they just basically just say, wait, we're going to hold off. And that happens to be quite apparent right now. You could see that in the chart. Top 10 cities with the highest number of renter-occupied households earning over $150,000 a year. You could see around, whether we want to look at San Francisco, 71,000, New York, 249,000, LA has 67, and so on. I just thought that would be interesting. And just two more quick things: rent versus owner-occupied households making over $150,000 a year. This obviously changed during the financial crisis, but it has been sort of within this range now, not necessarily increasing or decreasing. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't look good for the prospects when housing is so expensive, food is so expensive, electricity is so expensive. People can't afford the basic things that they need, so they make do. They do whatever it is that they have to do. 25 to 34-year-olds, marriage rates are down, cohabiting rates are up. I'm not suggesting one is good or one is bad or anything. I'm just simply pointing out the facts. You can see them on the pie charts here. I'm going to end the video there before I get into some more ranting. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, you're supporting this channel, so I do appreciate that very much. And last but not least, if you want the financial education you were not taught in school, these two books have everything that you need. You can check them out at the link in the description. If you're more interested in the audiobook version, you can get that at themoneygps.com.